We all know the Habsburg Empire, Austria-Hungary. A fan favorite, and the butt of many jokes. But what many don't know is that in 1848, the year of revolutions, there was a serious possibility that the Habsburg realm could have collapsed. For those who don't know, there was a Hungarian revolution aiming to break away from the Habsburg Empire. In our timeline, this revolt was only smashed thanks to Russian intervention. But that naturally begs the question, what if the Russians had not intervened? In this timeline, let's just say there is some sort of pesky border conflict or some other damn thing that causes the Russians to still be mad at the Austrians. If the Russians just for any reason at all decide not to intervene, the revolution is most likely successful. This drastically alters the European balance of power. To start off, if Hungary manages to break away, it's not a far cry to imagine Croatia and Galicia to do the same. While Galicia would quickly be absorbed into the Russian Empire, an independent state of Croatia is a massive threat to the Ottoman Empire. But before we take a closer look at the Ottomans, let's look at Austria and Hungary. The Hungarians have achieved their independence, and are mostly uninterested in any major conflict. For now, they just act as a neutral buffer state. The Austrians meanwhile have basically lost everything. They are no longer a great power in Europe, relegated to just a minor player. During this alternate German unification, it's likely that the remaining Austrian rump state too gets integrated into the new Greater German state. Considering what a diplomatic genius Bismarck was, it's likely he'd be willing to grant the Italians most of their Austrian territorial claims, ensuring them as a reliable ally to Germany in the near future. He might also give Slovenia to Croatia simply because he didn't want too many non-Germans inside his empire. I'm not sure what would happen to the Czechs, but I'm guessing Bismarck would give them some sort of special autonomy or even create a new Czech kingdom as a German puppet state. Over the years, the Ottoman Balkans slowly collapse, but without Austria-Hungary, there might not even exist an independent Albania. This may or may not butterfly into Serbia being more willing to let Bulgaria have most of Macedonia as Albania in return gets split up between Serbia and Greece. This, again, may or may not butterfly away the Second Balkan War. To make this scenario more interesting, let's just say exactly this happens, although it's by no means a guarantee. Germany and Britain still engage in a silly demeasuring contest that drives Britain closer to the Entente. Without the Austro-Hungarian Empire, tensions in Europe are severely reduced, but the potential for a powderkeg is still there. While no Austrian archduke is shot, it's likely a war sooner or later breaks out in Europe anyway, probably around 1920. The main conflict is Germany and Italy against France and Russia. Germany still invades through Belgium while Italy launches an invasion of Corsica. The Russians try an offensive into East Prussia but fail miserably and get pushed back into Poland. The Ottomans probably still join the war somewhere in, and I have absolutely no idea what the Balkans look like. The outcome of this war is entirely dependent on whether or not Britain and the United States join the war, which I simply cannot predict. I also have no idea if the Germans still send Lenin to Russia or not. If the Americans join the war and Lenin is still sent to Russia, we just return to our timeline, except that Austria is part of Germany. Germany and Italy are still humiliated, dictators rise, World War II etc. The only difference apart from Austria being part of Germany is that the Soviet sphere is significantly smaller as Hungary and possibly Bulgaria too stay neutral in both world wars and thus manage to not get invaded. But if the British or even just the Americans don't intervene or are too hesitant, the Central Powers could come out victorious. In that case, we get another what if Germany won the First World War and Italy joined the Central Powers timeline, where Germany and Italy remain constitutional monarchies and never see the rise of far-right dictators. France meanwhile is devastated and sees either the far left or the far right take over the nation, possibly depending on whether the Reds or the Whites win the Russian Civil War. I will probably make my own what if Germany won the First World War timeline sometime in the future, but in a nutshell, Germany is the king of Europe while America and Britain are isolationist. In both cases, Hungary, the main subject of this video, would be in a much better shape. I don't need to explain that staying neutral in both world wars would be perfect for the Hungarians, and if they play their cards right, they are destined to be the biggest winner of this alternate timeline. Cheers.